going to take we're going to do this border, this other border. And so it's, I would almost say, a mixed backstitch of sorts, and you'll see in a second. So here's our starting point. I'm going to come up here and find the running stitch down here. And so this is the length of the stitch. I'm coming down most part, and before we're totally stitched, we're going to come up right about the middle on the line of the design, but in the middle, not a little above. See, this is a little above the design, this is in the middle. We're going to come up in the middle. We're going to keep it nice and tight. And then we're going to do this same length of stitch this way. And so now we're going to do a bit of a back stitch and come up through the same spot, and then above the stitch. You always want to either be all above or all below the stitch, but don't go be above one stitch and below one stitch. And this is all above this stitch, and so it looks like a bit of a wrap, and so we're going to keep that length just a little further. We're going to come up in the same spot. If you don't get through the exact same hole, it's alright. You have to, if it's one or two bits off, it's not too bad, but you don't want to be all over the place. So we're going to do that again. And like I said, always keep it above, or always keep it always above, or always keep it always below. When you're doing your stitches, but I'm doing all above, but you could do the other way around. We're just going to work around. It's the halfway point. But you'll notice that the stitches are the same length, but it's just cut in half almost. It's also a great stitch for a braided effect. So if you're working on hair or just want to do something a little different than the back stitch. I can see where I need to come up the middle. There we are. Knot it and get started on the next stitch. So our next stitch is called the chain stitch, because it very much looks like a chain. So for this one, we need more of a line to follow. So real quick, I'm going to take my marker and go kind of down the middle, somewhere in the middle of the lettering, because we're going to be following that line and not the outer edges. Help guide me a little better. And so the chain stitch looks like a chain. So what we're going to do is we're going to start here along this line in the middle of this. So here's our line. So we're going to start kind of right in the middle. and not down the same hole, but just kind of right next to it. Go down. And then what we're going to do is a little further up, right off to the side of the line, go back up. And we're going to have this looped over, like so. Pull. There we are. And so see how this one matches up with this one, and then we're going to come back on right next to it, where it will match up with this stitch. Go down again. It's not a very secure stitch half the time. We're going to go back down and then repeat the process and go up a little further, right next to the line. Now, it looks like chainmail. Go down. Next to it. And you can tell that it's basically right next to it because it's such a small gap like this. If you leave it too wide a gap, it looks a little less like a chain. And I think if it's too wide, it's a different stitch entirely. Right next to it. So one thing you can do is you can catch your finger. Good. And catch the hoop. Next we'll do the French knot stitch. The French knot stitch can get a little difficult at times, but it's a really fun way to fill in or add detail to a project. So you're going to and then this is going to be more of a filling stitch instead of a kind of running stitch where it kind of outlines things. It'll fill it in more like the chain stitch. So we're going to just pick a place and take the end of the bead to come up. And what you're going to do is you're going to have your needle pretty close to your pattern, to your fabric. You're going to, like so, and you're going to wrap your needle around, your floss around your needle a few times. I'll do 4. So you keep it pretty tight and close. And then you go just right next to, but not down the same hole. So you come up and go down through the fabric. The problems of a needle, and just kind of carefully pull along. And that's a French knot. So move a little bit further and come up again. And you can vary the number of times you wrap the floss around your needle. You want to do it at least once, but I would probably cap it at about 5. The more you knot it, the thicker the knot. We're doing 4 for now, and you want to go really close to it to keep that knotted effect. But not down the same hole or it'll just unravel. It'll make a big mess. Just pull it tight. And it can very easily look wonky if you're not careful. And then you just have to go and figure out a way to fix it. There's not a good way to fix a French knot, which is part of its problem. Just kind of close. And down. we're just going to go along the E. Down. And so we're going to knot, because we're reaching the end of this part of the R. And so instead of coming a little off to the side of the line, we're going to come down the middle. So here's the top, we're going to come down a little further, right down the middle, instead of off to the side. We're going to catch the hoop. Straight thread. And kind of keep it around the even length. Keep it even, and then instead of off to the side, right next to it, we're going to go right over the loop. Almost like a running stitch, just to keep it in place. Make that a little more even.
Stay tuned for part 4.